Well, hello, White Sox fans, and welcome to another edition of the FutureSox podcast. My name is Ian Eskridge. Joining me is this way,
Yeah.
James Fox. How are you, James?
Good, man. How's it going?
It's going well. So we were blessed with the knowledge from Chris Getz this week that they
Whew.
are not going to be working heavy in
Right.
free agency.
Whatever that means. Shocker. Like,
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean,
they're going to sign free agents, right? They have to.
you have to
It's
imagine
not
they're
going to
going
be
to do
all kids.
something.
Yeah. Like
But I
John
mean,
Grebby,
I
yes.
Yeah, exactly. I don't like they're obviously not going to sign Juan Soto.
What?
Yeah.
How do you know? Yeah.
Sorry to break the news to you, but I think that yeah, you can that
Yeah.
one's
You
probably
know
a
what?
foregone conclusion.
You know how Jerry said he's going to talk again?
Yeah.
I hope that's part of it. I hope he says, we're not going to be in the Juan Soto business like he did with Otani. He should just come out every year and say that with whoever the top free agent is every year.
I mean, he might as well. I mean, we already know it, right? So, um yeah, and like one of my favorite things that's come out over the last like 2 weeks is that they say how proud they are of their guys for not giving up and still showing up to work with a
Yeah.
great attitude.
Yeah. Yeah. How could you
Um,
tell?
yeah, well, the results aren't really showing up, at least
They've
in
been
the win
worse under
loss.
Grady Sizemore.
Yeah, and I feel bad because Pedro Grifol had just taken the crown as the worst winning percentage of any White Sox manager of all time, and then Grady Sizemore ends up coming in and he's like, "Nope, I'll take that."
Yeah.
So unfortunate. I don't know if you remember this or not, but today was the 6-year anniversary of the day that Vontae Davis retired mid-game for the Buffalo Bills.
Okay. Yeah, that's
Um,
awesome.
I
Mid-game.
yeah, just mid-game, he's just like, I'm out, and he just literally just packed up his stuff from his locker room and walked out. Didn't say a word to anybody. I'm actually shocked that nobody on the White Sox has done that this year.
Oh, didn't John Kruk do it too?
I don't know if he did it mid-game.
I think he I thought he got a single or something and then walked off
Oh,
and then never played and then never played again or they got him a curtain call and then he was done and then retired or something like
yeah.
that.
I
Yeah.
mean, but this is like he walks in after getting his butt kicked for the
Yeah.
entire first half, and then just grabs his stuff, walks out, and disappears, and nobody hears a word from him.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then he just posts on Twitter, "Hey, I just retired." Crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So obviously, what do you think is the strategy for Chris Getz going into this offseason here? If we know that they're not going to be signing free agents, he says that some of these guys have got to, quote unquote, be better. And I would assume he means continue to get work and just improve in general, not that they need to be better players when speaking about the young rookie guys.
Right.
But what kind of free agents do you expect this team to be able to sign and actually put in some work to try and get?
Well, so if you look at Spot Track or whatever, it's I think Robert and Benintendi's $32 million total.
Yeah.
And everybody else on the team is ARB or pre-ARB. So look, payroll's getting cut, right? Everybody knows that. I don't know what that means. But if it's 100 million, which would be pretty low. I mean, people think I don't think they're going to spend $60 million on their team, right? They're not going to be the Rays. I don't think. Just because I just think you don't have enough 40-man players otherwise to not spend at least a little bit of money. So I mean, if it's 100, I mean, you could spend $50 million. They're not going to do that. I don't think. I think it's going to be a lot of I wish they would spend more than they will. Right. My thought is similar to this year, where it's these bargain bin guys that you're hoping bounce back. I would spend a little bit more just on better guys that you could flip. I kind of talked about that last week, I think, a little bit. I wouldn't be opposed to, not David Robertson, but a guy like that, where it's you're a closer on a horrible team. We'll give you $10 million. we're going to trade you in July to somebody good, right? So if they did that for like a closer and a setup guy, and then just like a lefty power, like a, Dan Vogelbach, like somebody, whoever, like what, whatever, just like a lefty power masher for DH. Those are the types of things I would do, because then I think you can just like play your prospects at other spots. But I mean, like looking at the team, I just like on the position player side, like they're not good, obviously, but how many open spots do they realistically have? I think Robertson center and Benintendi's in left. Fletcher's on the team, right? And then there's some guys that we think are going to be on the team for at least part of the season or most of it. Ramos, Caro, Lee, Montgomery, I think we'll see. I think Brooks Baldwin's on the team. So, I mean, I don't know how, I don't know. I don't know how many guys they're planning on adding, but, Andrew Vaughn's kind of up in the air. So, I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of ugly. I mean, I don't want to. Yeah, it's like at this point, like we're basically looking at a repeat of this year, where they're just going to try and get guys that are just going to be fill-in guys, and you hope that the guys on the farm kind of push their way up, and that kind of puts us in exactly the same spot that we were just in.
Except for you might be more like watchable, because we'll be interested in seeing younger guys that could be on the next good White Sox team. This year was just like, just get us through the season, right? I think I said multiple times on this show, like Chris Getz would hit the simulate season button, because like none of these guys matter. Like Nicky Lopez doesn't matter. Paul DeYoung and the reliever they got for him, like in the grand scheme of things, like doesn't matter all that much, right? So next year, if like you're looking at June 15th and the team's bad, but like Montgomery is at short and Caro's at catcher and Ramos is playing, like at least you're interesting, right? And I think it's a ton of pitchers that we know that are all going to be pretty young, whether it's bullpen or starter. So that's a little bit different. It's not Mike Soroka and Chris Flexen, and at least I hope not. I mean, they have so many pitchers, like there's no reason for that to be the case. That's why I would spend the money on the bullpen, because if you have to spend some, just like spend it there with something that you might be able to like trade to get better later. Cause yeah, I hope it's not multiple like Chris Flexen's blocking Mason Adams and, whoever, Kai Bush, like whoever else, like all these guys should be getting starts in a lost season. No, Doug, I would not. The answer
is no.
Yeah.
Would you rather have Sheets or Vaughn?
So here's the thing. I think one of those guys is completely useless, and the other guy is Andrew Vaughn. So, like an Andrew Vaughn's like not good either, right? But there's some utility. Sheets, I don't really know what he does for you. Like I don't really get it.
Yeah, and at some point, with Tim Elko down in AAA hitting, 280 in Charlotte, at some point, with the power potential that he has, it makes sense to try and, at least cut your losses and add him somewhere in there so you can try and get some power. Even if it's selling out for power and his OBP or whatever, average goes down, which seems to be something that he's been working on this year.
Right. That's why I'm talking about getting him a lefty power buddy, Elko and whatever. Who's the other Dan Vogelbach?
Gavin Sheets, right?
No, the guy that was on the Pirates this year that's bounced around. He's also a large person.
Not Josh Bell?
That hits tanks. No, I'll remember. Rowdy Tellez.
Oh, Rowdy Tellez.
Just like a guy like that. That's just like this expendable DH, like just whatever. Like
man.
Lefty DH du jour. Thanks, Wayne.
Yeah, thanks for showing up, Wayne. Appreciate it. Would Soto even entertain coming to the Sox if they had the highest offer?
No.
Or would they need to come in above the top offer by a large margin?
Yeah.
I mean, if he values his quote unquote legacy, it seems to me that he would be known as the guy who came here for the largest dollar amount and all he cares about is money. That would be the would be what they would say about him.
Maybe Jerry will repeat Albert Bell, but times 10.
And then let him walk after the first year of the contract?
Yeah, because he didn't really want to ever pay for it.
Yeah.
Was it 2 years here or one?
I thought it was 2 years. Yeah,
I think it's 2. Because one wasn't great and the other one was like the greatest season ever. And then he's like, that's fine. You can leave.
I mean, both of them were pretty good. I think he hit like hit a lot of home runs in the first year too. It wasn't as good like that. The second year, I think, was MVP numbers.
Yeah, I remember that. Jerry's like, I will show you. I will sign a good player.
Yeah. Yeah, Soto's younger than some of the next wave. Yeah, he is.
But
wasn't
Albert Bell's contract like $50 million or something insane?
Yeah, it was the largest contract that had ever been ever been made, and from my recollection is that Jerry Reinsdorf did it to
stick the other owners,
basically stick it to the other owners, and then when push came to shove and the guy was putting up ridiculous numbers, he just decided, you know what? I don't want to pay that next year. You can go ahead and look for a new contract. And he did, and he was good. So
sounds a lot like Jerry.
It really does, doesn't it? I mean, it's like so on brand.
We didn't have this like on the rundown, and we can obviously like get back to it. But have you paid attention to this like stadium thing?
I saw that they put bases over there and like
they like have a field in there because they're like having, I guess, like investors come walk by and be like, hey, look how cool the skyline would look if we put a stadium here.
Yeah.
I mean, and it would, I agree. But like, I just didn't know that they had the money from anyone, like from anyone to do this sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's obviously, it looks like just like a marketing ploy trying to get the, people to take a look at it again. But I mean, realistically, is anybody at all thinking about giving Jerry Reinsdorf billions of dollars? I honestly don't think that they are.
Yeah, I don't really know why they would be. I mean, I saw something floating around that was like a river cruise with the Sox at the 78 or something, where it's like their team legends, and they're gonna go. Hey man, I hope it happens. It would be cool because I live in Will County and I probably wouldn't have to pay for it. But I don't
so know. Ridiculous. Let me see here. Let me go ahead and see if I can bring this thing up here.
Yeah, for the millions watching at home.
Yeah, exactly. All right, why is it it's being a problem? I'm not going to bother because anyway,
I mean, it fits a lot with like Chris Getz has kind of talked a lot this week. I feel like he was on the broadcast, right? And I do think a lot of people were like, "How dare you tell the truth?" After like getting mad that they haven't been transparent. The man is like as transparent as possible the last 2 weeks, and people are like, I hate this man. Stop being so honest. Like, please tell us more. No, not that. Tell us less. But I mean, yeah, they're very clearly cutting payroll because like they're supposedly losing money. But like, is it really a payroll cut, or is it just like you let all these players leave? And then, I guess it's a payroll cut, right? But it's not like you're like they have a ton of free agents and they have nobody on the books.
So yeah, technically it's just letting everybody leave.
Yeah, and then your team is like what it is. And if they trade Robert, like the only guy under contract really is Benintendi, and everybody else is like Arb. That's why I think like there will be signings or trades. Like I don't think it's just a team full of like our favorite kids next year. There's some veterans on the team, but I hope it's not like bargain basement, like the bottom of it, like a bunch of Paul DeYoungs and like John Brebbias, but that might be what it is. Who knows?
Is Paul DeYoung still leading the White Sox in home runs? I haven't looked.
I feel like no. I think somebody passed him.
Did Andrew Vaughn take him over?
Yes, finally? I think so. I think it's like 18 or something. Like vaunted home run slugger Andrew Vaughn.
So speaking of the strategy that the White Sox are going to use next year, something was blessing our Twitter timelines this afternoon from the Foul Territory podcast, which is AJ. If you do not know, it's AJ Przynski's podcast. They had a reporter on. And I'm just going to go ahead and bring this video up so you guys can hear what she has to say about what the White Sox should do for next year.
Yeah, well, I guess if I'm the White Sox, I'm not thinking about the Orioles or some of those teams. I'm thinking about the Royals and what they've done. They lost 100 games last year. And what did they do? They spent almost $110 million in free agency. So why can't you do that and wait for your young guys? Why can't you bridge? That would be my question. Why can't you look at what Kansas City has done and say, hey, maybe we can't get this done on player development and scouting alone, or maybe we're 5-6 years away from that. So why not give our fans something to feel better about now while still building for the future? Why does it have to be either or now with all these teams? That you can't tank like you could tank for when Houston got good, when Baltimore got good. That blueprint doesn't exist anymore, and many GMs have discussed how difficult that is. The Orioles had to hit on pretty much every draft pick. And then they had to find guys like Gunnar Henderson, who was not taken in the first round, which seems nonsensical now. But looking back, I mean, a lot of teams were a little worried because he was a risky guy. So not only do you have to have above average drafting, you have to have above average player development, and you have to make sure that every guy hits. So I guess my question would be the White Sox would, why not look at the Royals and what they did last offseason? Why can't you?
I don't know. Like, I tweeted about this because so here's the thing. Like I think she has a point as far as like not being able to do the traditional like Astros, Orioles, Cubs rebuild because of the tanking rules. Like, it does make it a little bit difficult, right? And like,
yeah,
when talent is available and you like a guy, why not sign him? Like, even if you're bad, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be all at once. Like, I agree with like that part of it. But the thought that the Royals are winning because they went out in free agency and signed 5 or 6 guys is absolutely absurd. And like, people keep saying it. Like, with the second pick in 2019? When did they take Vaughn? 2019?
And the pick before them was Bobby Witt Jr.
Like, they have Bobby Witt Jr., man. Like, where are the White Sox getting a 9 F WAR regular? Like, not with the money they spend this offseason. I mean, like, look, I don't think either one, like, if the White Sox go on a spending spree, I don't think either one of us are going to come on here and say, like, that's stupid. Why would they do that? I'd be like, cool, like, sign good players. But like, I think people, do you know how many good players they need to be even like bad and not like colossally bad? Like, yeah, the Royals lost 100 games. Do you think they would have signed? Do you think they would have spent 110 million if they lost 130 games or 125 games?
Can't imagine that they thought they were one piece away.
Yeah, I mean, like, they have wit. And I was a little bit surprised when I looked today because I thought I'd have a better argument. Like, oh, they have all these homegrown position players. And, like, you know, those guys aren't that good. Like, Perez is like a 3-3 F WAR. And, like, Jason Isbell is a solid player. So, like, yeah, like, the Sox could replicate that. Like, they could find 2 and 3 WAR guys. But they're not finding a Bobby Witt Jr. anytime soon. And that's, like, you know, the high tide that raises all the boats, right? So, like, it just... Yeah, they did well in free agency. They signed Michael Wacha and they signed, you know, Seth Lugo and
Maeda.
And it like worked out. And you made they made some shrewd trades. Like, the thing that they should do is the thing that the Royals did the year before when they signed Aroldis Chapman and traded him for Cole Raggins. That's what the White Sox should do. Is stuff like that. You know.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't have to be Aroldis Chapman, but that sort of thing where you get somebody for your next. I just, yeah, they go sign some guys, great, but like you're gonna win 60 games. Like, if you spend 100 million this offseason, you might win 60 games.
Yeah, if you're lucky. Yeah, the problem that with her line of thinking there is that unfortunately Bobby Witt Juniors don't grow on trees. Trying to find a Bobby Witt Jr. is not easy. You know, so if it was easy, the Yankees would have 26 of them. Well, 13 of them anyway. You know, so this is where the whole thing just kind of comes off the rails here. Is that she makes the assertion that it's because they went out and spent $100 million in free agency, when in reality it was the Aroldis Chapman trade and Bobby Witt Jr. coming into his own. The White Sox, you know, if they get lucky and Colson Montgomery and Edgar Quero, you know, turn the corner and all of a sudden are just like monsters in Major League Baseball, then you know, then we're looking at like the next step here. But at this point, $100 million is a drop in the bucket for the roster that they currently have.
Yeah, I mean, even if like Colson Montgomery and Edgar Quero look like 4 WAR regulars, like, or you know, 3, like, by all means, sign a bunch of players for 2026. That would be fantastic. This offseason, you want them to do this? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, it just doesn't. Like, it's like, oh, why does everybody have to be, like, bad? It's like, it's not always by design. Sometimes it's because, like, it's just the thing that makes the most sense, like, strategically. And people don't like hearing that because there's people that, like, every year in every sport, they just, like, want their team to, like, compete. I'm not that guy. I'm the guy that gets accused of, like, rooting for tanking and whatever, but, like, it's always been with a greater goal in mind. I want my teams to, like, strive to win titles. And, like, sometimes because of the way these sports are modeled, like, you have to take a step back, like, in order to step forward. And I just, like, it's fine. They're in a really tough spot, though. And I was kind of surprised by that today. Like, Bobby Witt Jr. is like a red flashing light to me in this whole thing. Like, excuse me, how do we get one of those?
Yeah, that's the thing, is that she just kind of completely glazes over that's not part of their solution to how they got good. Like, how do you just pass over the fact that they have Bobby Witt Jr. that they drafted and he turned into an absolute monster? Like,
he's one of the
that part does exist.
He would win any MVP any other season, but he probably won't because of Judge. I mean,
it's going to be close. I mean, he hit a grand slam. He's got 31 or 32 home runs now. So
Witt, yeah, he's really good, man. Like,
yeah, it's unfortunate. I don't know if you saw this or not, but the Art Stewart Scout of the Year for 2024 is a Royal Scout, Scott Melvin. So they're getting their flowers from people that are voting on these kinds of things, saying, hey, you guys are doing a great job. And the White Sox just fired a bunch of their scouts.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, the Royals had a pretty good offseason. Like, I wasn't a huge believer, but, like, I also didn't know that, that Bobby Witt was going to go nuclear, and, like, some of these pitchers, like, I didn't know that Seth Lugo would do it. And look, they're just, I think Lugo and Reagans are both, like, 4 WAR starters. And then Waka's always been. I mean, yeah, it's a pretty good rotation, right?
Yeah.
I think the White Sox would like to, like, home grow theirs a little bit more. And, it's a little bit tougher to, like, go out and sign position players, but this is the bed that they've made, so to speak.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do this offseason. I mean, I don't have at this point, like, you got to figure, you have to try and figure out who would even want to come here. Like, that's the thing that they're going to run into. I mean, when you see these player surveys that talk about how everybody hates, playing here, how they, don't like the park, don't want to have anything to do with the team, it kind of makes you wonder, well, who's going to even, want to sign here in the first place? The good thing about trades is that the players don't have any say in where they're going.
Yeah, no. And I feel like this year it was like the friends and family plan, kind of, like, where it was like, oh, hey, I knew this guy from here, like, let's sign him. I mean, Paul DeYoung, like, wasn't getting a major league deal anywhere else. Martin Maldonado was not, obviously. Like, some of the relievers, like, it is what it is, right? So maybe that'll be similar. It'll be guys that Getz or the new man, because who knows, right? Like, when they hire a new manager, he might have guys that he wants, but so I have no idea, but I think that's, like, obviously, like, the first part of the off season will be obviously, like, like, minor stuff, like the end of Yoan Moncada, hiring a manager and a coaching staff. So we'll be, like, involved in that, right? We'll be kind of watching AFL, seeing if they hire more front office people, that sort of thing. And then I feel like as soon as, like, free agency and trade season starts and winter meetings, it's going to be all Garrett Crochet trade rumors, like, just all the time. Like, that's what the entire offseason will be, sprinkled in with, hey, the White Sox signed this bad shortstop, for $2 million, and that'll be the plan, probably.
Yeah, I for one am really looking forward to all of the ridiculous Garrett Crochet trade packages I see floating around.
Yeah, we might publish some.
I mean, the Yankees fans who say, that they're not going to trade Spencer Jones for
Right.
Garrett Crochet.
I know. Yes. Yeah, and I wouldn't trade Garrett Crochet for Spencer Jones. So there.
Yes, likewise.
The other way around. But do you think so? This is like a little bit off topic too, but like he's going to make 32, 33 starts, something like that.
Yeah.
Do you think Garrett Crochet, after what he just did with 2 years of control, is actually more valuable than he was at the deadline? With all the uncertainty that was like, I feel like he is probably. I feel like it's at least you're getting at least the same deal.
I would say it's at least the same.
Yeah.
I would say the same at least, because like the thing, you would have had him possibly for the playoff run, but I mean, realistically, if you're limiting his innings, then is it really worth? I mean, yes, it's worth it to have some guy who just comes out and absolutely just shoves for 2 innings in a playoff game. That would be awesome, but having him for 2 full seasons and seeing him like kind of come down the finish line here, being able to still go out and do crazy stuff is keeping that value high, I think.
So I think they should be able to get a lot. Obviously, Chris Getz trade returns have been very questionable. So will they? I don't know, but that. And then at this point, it seems like we might hear like on Robert, but I feel like he starts on next year's team because he just didn't have a good enough year for you to get like what you would need to get. And I'm sure Jerry would like to continue to put Luis Robert like up on the billboards if he has to. They need somebody. It's not gonna be Miguel Vargas. So
Jacob Amaya.
Well, starting shortstop next year, Jacob Amaya.
Yeah. That was asked as a question up here. Here we go from Wayne. Jacob Amaya thoughts wherever it fits in the rundown. Is he the opening day shortstop next year?
I hope not. Like, I mean, he could be on the team, I guess. They'll probably carry him on the 40 throughout the offseason, I would think. And he's like a utility guy, him and Brooks. And, he'll have to compete with Braden Shoemake for a spot in spring training. So,
your guy.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead and bring this up. With the exception of Schultz, Colson, Hagen Smith, and Carroll, what current minor leaguers do you see having a decent chance of getting a real opportunity with the Sox, whether it's 25, 26? I would say, obviously, Tim Elko is one of those guys that's at the closest spot here, or at least one of the closest spots.
Yeah, I mean, 26 kind of changes things if you're going to go out that far. I mean, next year, obviously, like all these guys we're seeing now, Sean Burke, Jake Eater, Nick Nastrini, whether it's starting or relieving, I think we see a lot of those guys. We haven't seen Mason Adams yet. We will. More looks for Jairo Iriarte, I'm sure. Noah Schultz likely, did they mention Schultz? Schultz likely pitches in the big leagues next year.
Yeah.
Like Grant Taylor, if things go like we think they could move very quickly. So yeah, like more pitchers than hitters, obviously, other than like Tim Elko and maybe like a Varys. And, I just think that if they have it their way, the trade returns or return will be at least one high minors bat that's like on your team, you would think. I mean, I don't know where else they're going to get a guy from. So,
yeah. Yeah,
lots
the bats part of it's tough.
Lots of relief candidates, I think, though, and like good ones. Like if they came out right now and they said like Sean Burke and Jake Eater are relievers, and you had Peyton Paulette too. I mean, those are a lot of high upside arms. I know, like there was some discussion this week that I started on Twitter about the Jake Burger trade return, and obviously Jake Eater was not very good this year. But I do think like if he converted to relief, like he could be really good, like in that role. Now, is that enough for fan favorite Jake Burger? I think that's debatable, but I mean, it's not like he either starts or like dies or something, like it wasn't a good year though. That part's true. I can't defend Jake Eater anymore.
Yeah, that's the thing is that I'm and I was one of these staunch Eater supporters. I see we actually, me and Beef on the Au Jus before this earlier tonight. We talked about Eater for a little bit, and I see all of the potential but I see none of the consistency, and that's part of the problem. And the command just hasn't come back. And when you leave your, fastball that's kind of starting to lag behind because your arm's getting tired late in the season, when you leave that 94-mile-an-hour fastball belt high, it's going to get hit hard, and that's been kind of what's been happening. He hasn't been putting it, he hasn't been commanding it as well as he needs to. So,
well, I think he's one of those guys where, like, in like a 2-pitch relief role, maybe the stuff plays up and he doesn't get as like tired. I think that was the issue with Paulette. Like, he would get so amped up for these starts, and then his command is all over the place, where they're just like, look, you're a reliever, man. Like, and like sometimes it just happens that way. We had a question from Alec on McDougal. Yes, I think that happens too. I don't know that it's like pressing where you have to just like, tell him, hey, you're a reliever now.
Yeah.
But I do think if like we see Tanner McDougal in the big leagues, it's in a relief role, most likely.
That's kind of what I'm thinking as well at this point. He hasn't made the push up to Double-A yet. I mean, he pitched in Advanced A and he ran into his issues there, so they brought him back to Kannapolis, and he's pitching decently well, but you were hoping that he would be, higher on his trajectory here at this point.
But if they did transition him now, like, I wonder how quickly he could move. Because it is,
I would think
because it is different. Like, yeah, I mean, we saw Paulette. They're like, okay, you're too good. Go to Double-A.
Yeah, the thing with McDougal is if he goes to a relief role, he's pumping 100,
right,
with like that
yeah.
Bobby Jenks curveball.
Right.
So, let's see here. Another question.
Maybe.
When does Riku get his shot? We know he's got a low ceiling, but dude can hit. Do you think Riku Nishida gets his? I figure he probably does get a little run next year, maybe.
Yeah, probably.
If he continues to do his thing.
I mean, are you going to send him to Birmingham or are you going to send him to Charlotte to start? I mean,
he's hitting like 300. He's hitting 350 or something
at Birmingham. Right. Yeah, I'll say he plays in the big leagues in 2025. At least gets a fun. They get Riku Nishida night or something.
I'm into it. That would be fun.
I'm pretty shocked by it, honestly. Like, we talked about him a lot. We knew he was cool. I thought he'd be like one of these like minor league guys that, no, he's not an org guy. He's better than that, right?
Yeah.
But like, I just didn't know that because he's not really a prospect. Like, but that doesn't mean that he can't be a big leaguer. Like he's, but if he just like keeps performing, like he's going to get an opportunity.
Yeah. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, I love watching him play. He's a lot of fun, but I can't bring myself to put him like on a top 30 list, like he's so much fun to watch and he does so many awesome things.
Yeah.
But there's holes in his game that are fairly large. Like, I don't know, at second base, he's okay.
Right. Like, can he play anywhere defensively? I don't know.
That's the thing is that I could stick him at second base, but I don't know that he's definitely not a plus at second base. He could play it. I just don't know that it's going to be one of those things where, I want to watch him play defense.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost like if he were a shortstop, he'd be like a prospect, but he's not. So, it's just, you're like this tweener type. But I mean, Stephen Kwan was never a prospect.
That's true, but I'd say he's better defensively.
Way better, yeah.
So and he's got a position that, even if it is left field, he's still got a position that he plays pretty well in.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that if you look into the deep corners of the internet, you do see people that are mentioning his defense and saying that his defense isn't in 100% great spot. So I don't know, do I see Pat Leland moving up? I mean, possibly. I don't know what the we'll see what the White Sox org situation looks like, if somebody moves on or if they keep somebody or whatever. I know that they probably want to keep Pat around, whether or not that means him moving up or staying where he's at. I mean, it depends on how they assess what his strong suits are, whether it's working with the very young guys and molding them, or whether they think that he's a candidate to be a mover up to a managerial role at some point.
Right, because you could see a move like all the way up to the Knights, or you could see like, hey, we really like what you're doing, like in low A with all the shuffling, like we're going to keep you here type thing,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, I would imagine they're going to try to put Ghiroli on the next big league staff. Like, I don't know. We'll see. I guess it doesn't matter really, but this is like how you lose him. Like you did like the promotion and then all of a sudden he just like doesn't work there anymore. Like I don't know, but I do think it's like, it would be weird if they were just like, oh yeah, he's our AAA manager again.
Yeah. But I mean, then again, who they just kind of moved Pat Listash into the role as the manager there anyway. So, I mean, maybe he did it with the proviso that he was just going to end up moving back at the beginning of next year, because they know that Ghiroli's not going to be on the staff. And, like, in my personal opinion, and I think that I speak for most people that are probably listening to this / watching it, if the White Sox make or break qualification for the manager that they're going to hire, if a make or break situation comes up where it's like you've got to have Justin Ghiroli on the staff, I don't want that manager that's going to say, okay, right. I'm sick of yes men. We don't need another Pedro Grifol. We need somebody that's got some backbone and can manage a club.
Yeah, that has his own staff, right? Like I understand having like Ethan Katz forced upon you, but like any of these other guys, like it doesn't really make that much sense to me.
Yeah, well, and with Bannister around,
right,
it would make sense that that you have a guy that can work with the guy that's in charge of the pitching and that really does actually make pitchers better. I mean, whether or not you ask why Michael Kopech never did anything here and now that he's with the Dodgers, he's lights out. I think that has to do with him more than
that's the other
with,
that's the other thing about that narrative. Like his last 5 outings here were good. Like the White Sox fixed Michael Kopech. He just didn't listen. That wasn't like some Dodgers like miracle, like, hey, why don't you try this and this? It's like Brian Bannister was telling him that for months, and he was like, I think I'm going to throw 104 instead. Like, and it's it was just like, okay, like, yeah, dope, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it seems to be working. With actually listening to people.
Yeah, we have like a lot of questions in this chat. Like,
yeah, sure is. And it's interesting questions, not questions that I want to skip over, Let's see here. I'm going to skip over that one for a minute. So Wayne's asking if the White Sox add more coaches at the minor league affiliates, because they added a bench coach for each affiliate this year. Do you think that they add anybody? He says that they've got less coaches than Dodgers or Brewers.
No, I think it's manager, bench coach, pitching coach, hitting coach, performance coach, trainer. That's
I think that the rest of the guys are roving guys that pop in and out.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Like doing it that way, I think it's fine. I think you'll always have new minor league people, like staff members. Like do they build out a hitting department? Obviously, like they have Alan Zinter doing the old Andy Barkett role. But there's nobody like over them, like, you know what I mean? There's not like a Brian Bannister equivalent or like a big league guy. So who knows? Like maybe somebody comes in, or maybe, you shift some other guys around. I know friend of the program, Devin DeYoung, is, well respected, highly touted, whatever you want to say. Like do guys like that, like have a bigger role, so.
Yeah, like the problem that I run into is the problem that you had with the White Sox last season was, when everybody was saying that there was 3 hitting coaches that were basically telling all the guys to do different things.
Yeah.
Is that I don't want that in the minor league system. So I don't know as if necessarily having more coaches is a better idea, just to have more guys there, if there's not like a clear hierarchy how things are going to work,
Right, like one plan. And the one thing I have been encouraged by, like you look at the minors as a whole and you're like, the White Sox can't develop hitters. And I think that's a fair statement, right? But I think we've heard multiple cases this year, I guess, in a few cases where roving instructors or guys that they've employed have made legitimate differences with guys. Like Wolkow, we've talked about. Brian Ramos mentioned like changes they made to his path and lower half. And, Montgomery was like working on stuff. Caro definitely made some changes. So look, I don't think it's like all bad. I just, like one unified plan makes a lot of sense. And we'll see what they do. I think those are going to be like the types of hires, though, more so than us watching press conferences of free agents getting new White Sox jerseys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a guy who was thrown around as a thought for,
man. I thought they might hire him when they hired Pedro.
Yes. If you are not watching on YouTube currently, if you are listening to this in podcast form, know that we do this on YouTube on every Monday night at 8 p.m. But Doug asks, what do you think if they hired Kevin Long as the hitting director? I would absolutely love that.
Oh, he's like one of my favorite guys in the league. Yeah.
I just don't think he's going to leave the Phillies major league hitting coach to come here and do that.
Yeah, like I feel like big league hitting coach is a better job. For the
it
Phillies,
depends on what they want to do, right?
For the Phillies,
Yeah. I mean, you're working with the best in the field at what they do, trying to help them win a World Series. And here you would be working with guys that you're hoping could be half of what Bryce Harper is.
Right.
If you're doing that.
And I feel like the only way Kevin Long leaves Philly is like for a manager job, or like if somebody pays him like an ungodly amount of money for, like an advanced title. I don't know. Like, would he leave to be somebody's bench coach? I have no idea. I don't know what his aspirations are. Like, does he want to manage? Like, I don't know. But yes, a name Kevin Long would be tremendous. Like, I thought like there were rumors like around that time the White Sox were interviewing like 25 people or whatever that I don't know that it was the White Sox specifically, but just that teams were kind of like sniffing around Kevin Long. And at the time, like on Twitter, I speculated like, ooh, this would be fun, like if this were the type of hire, because Katz was here. So it's like, oh, you have Long and Katz, like works for me.
Yeah, this is also the fear that I have, Trey, is that same with free agency, is I don't think high profile coaches would come here.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much
Did you hear on the broadcast like last week Steve Stone brought up Francona as an option?
I've heard it. I heard it before that, and I did hear that he did bring it up. I did not. I was not watching the White Sox, so
no,
I can't lie and say yes, I heard
like
it.
I went back and listened, because it's just weird. Like sometimes Steve Stone like just says random things, but sometimes he brings things up like after he like had lunch with Jerry, So you like never know, right? Like Steve Stone, Bob Nightingale. There's just like a few people where it's like, ooh, this guy mentioned this. Like for what? Like why on earth would Terry Francona want to do that? Like, I don't know. There are people for whatever reason that like worked for Jerry Reinsdorf in the past that are like enchanted and like want to do so again for some reason. So if that happened, like I wouldn't be totally like stunned, because I've heard like he'd be fine like with a rebuilding situation, but I also think he probably wants money, and that's likely would be a deal breaker. I would imagine money.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe he says, the second biggest mistake I ever made was letting Terry Francona walk. The
Oh
third
my
one was Jim Leland, so we hired his kid.
I
know?
want Terry Francona just for the Michael Jordan Barron stories because there's like
Yeah, I'm fine
100.
with
They're great. There's like 100 of them.
Yeah.
Like that's like, when I encounter people that talk about how Michael Jordan was terrible at baseball, and I'm like, oh, wait a second. Like, the man got off his couch and he hit like 240 in the minors. Like, that's impossible. Like, what he did was insane. Like,
that's what I'm saying is that how could you say that he's terrible at baseball when the guy clearly, like, he never played baseball since high school, and then he just shows up in Double-A and he's hitting 240 and like hitting triples. Like, what are we talking
and
about?
people thought legit, like, if he kept doing it, he might have made the majors as like a extra or something. I don't know if I believe it, but like, even to do that is insane. Like after not playing for 20 years or whatever.
No
it
big
was,
deal,
like,
right?
Yeah.
Speaking of the Birmingham Barons, they have just finished their regular season, and they are hopping into the division series this week against the team that they've just finished one of their series with, the Cubs Double-A team, the Tennessee Smokies. I got the pitching rotation. It is the best of 3 series, and they are running out. Juan Carrera is pitching game 1. Tyler Schweitzer is game 2, and if they have a game 3, it is going to be Riley Gowan's pitching for that game. So that's pretty interesting stuff. The question I have is they put up a good series. They split this week with the Smokies. I'm interested to see what happens here when playoffs kick off.
Yeah. So what nights are those?
So it will be Tuesday, Thursday, Friday.
And then when would the next one be? The title?
If they play if they make it to the championship, it would be Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I think.
So would you think they'd pitch Noah Schultz on Sunday?
I mean,
they should. I just don't know, like, what
it would line up. I mean, how do you not do it? Is my question.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, and he's at, what did I tell you? He's at like 90-ish innings, 88.
Yeah, I thought it was 88.
Like that. Yeah, which is a decent number. I think they thought he'd throw 90 to 95 this year. So yeah, that's interesting. They got to get through the first one first, though, and the Smokies have been pretty good. But they do, the Cubs have bumped a lot of guys to Iowa.
Yep. Yeah, that's the thing. I think the Cubs, the Smokies, in the first game, I think they're pitching an ex-major leaguer in the first game.
Yeah, that doesn't seem fair.
It's kind of ridiculous, I think.
I wish the Sox would have started like Schultz and Smith back to back. Said, "Screw you, Cubs."
That would have been kind of cool. Although I can say I wouldn't have been mad if the Cannonballers had brought back Grant Taylor to pitch in the playoffs either. And I'll get to them in a second. They are down 0-1 in their championship series. Yeah, they did beat the Charleston River Dogs, the Tampa Bay affiliate, but now they are playing the Fred Nats.
Yeah, the Nats.
Which their A team is actually is very good. And
you see their first round picks playing for them.
Yeah,
Seaver King.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's he's got some hits in the first game. The defense for the Cannonballers kind of held them back a little bit. They had an error in a couple of wild pitches that ended up moving some of the base runners along that kind of put the nails in the coffin for them on Sunday. And also the weather was awful and the wind was blowing in straight from left field. Otherwise, Gerald Perez would have tied the game up in the 9th inning yesterday. But anyway, so yeah, they're down 0-1. They've got the night off tonight. Then they play game 2 tomorrow night. And
is it Brizuela or no?
No, he's not. He's not pitching. Yeah, it's somebody.
You told me who it was.
Mason Moore's pitching
went the first
game
night,
3.
Right?
Yeah, it's I wrote it down. Now I'm going to have to look it up.
Is it McDougal?
Yes, Tanner McDougal.
Yeah, it's McDougal.
Yeah, blanking.
Yeah, so it's Tanner.
Yep. So you got Tanner McDougal going in game 2, and then if a game 3 is needed, then it'll be Mason Moore again, which he pitched pretty decent the other day. So that was good.
It was pretty good for them as Aaron Combs. Pretty good.
Aaron Combs, awesome. Saw 6 batters in his 2 innings, struck out 6 batters.
Yes.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah, so he's a guy that's like all this. Like if next year he's just like in AA, you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I
Some
would
of
not
these
be
relievers should
shocked.
move quickly.
Yeah, would not be shocked at all. So that's what is going on down there. Winston-Salem is done. The Knights have another week or 2.
They're in line with the big league season. So
yeah,
2.
So yeah, another 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So,
What do you think about? I know Bannister mentioned it, how they want to see like some of these starters in relief roles. I feel like a lot of people are not paying attention, obviously, because this team is horrible. But there's like a lot of guys up. Like Burke is up, Eater is up, Iriarte is up. I think one of your favorites, Fraser Ellard, has pitched very well, like out of the White Sox bullpen. Prelander Baroa has been pretty good.
He's been good, yeah. Shockingly.
So, like relievers are weird. Maybe they have a few though. Possibly the Burke thing was weird because he's supposed to pitch in the AFL. And like I thought they were just going to kind of use him in a bullpen role to get his feet wet, and then they started him. Like Eater, I'm assuming is a reliever and not starting, but like who knows at this point? Like they could do anything at this point, and it wouldn't like really be that surprising.
Yeah, so I went and in search of the AFL rules for rosters, and basically from what I'm gathering since 2021 or 22. Basically you can just do whatever you want as long as the player is signed to one of your teams. You can send them to the Arizona Fall League. So, I mean, realistically, if they want to send Burke there, they can still send him there. I just don't know if they're going to.
I know. I don't know that they are either. I mean, I know they want him to get innings. Like, this is probably the same amount of innings that he would have gotten in Charlotte anyway, so it, like, shouldn't matter. But I feel like when these things happen, guys don't go for whatever reason. Like...
Yeah. It's weird because I don't know, I mean, he did start late. So do they have him continue to pitch to try and get his innings count up? So if they want him to continue doing it, but like the thing is that, there's another thing we talked about on the Au Jus earlier is that, do you keep him starting knowing that he has the possibility of either, striking out the first 8 guys that he sees, and he also has the possibility of walking the first 5 guys he sees,
I just think you want to like do the starting pitching thing like as long as possible, right? Because I think there's guys like even like Nastrini. Like if you told me that he's just a reliever now, I'd be like, okay, that makes sense, right? But like if you're gonna be horrible, I just don't know that you can rule out starting for any of these guys, regardless of like what we think their like ultimate role would be like on a decent team.
Yeah.
And they have enough relievers where they don't like true relievers where they like don't have to.
That's the thing is that they've got, I mean, I was thinking about this the other day and just like going through this list. They have so many arms. Like they do not, even if you go by the 10% rule, which is, whatever. But if you went by 10% rule, they've got a full major league roster plus like 10 guys that are all going to be halfway decent.
Yeah. I mean, like, cause like, I mean, you have like, even in Charlotte, like, you have Yosimar Kuzin, you have Addison Coffey. You just have like all these names, right? You have some guys in AA now. Peyton Pallette seems to be on the fast track. Like Fraser Ellard, like is in the big leagues. He's pretty good. Baroa, all these guys. So
yeah, I was hoping that Caleb Freeman. Yeah, Gus Varland. I mean, Yeah, I mean, you just got guys. Just got guys on top of guys. At some point, you want to have major league depth.
Yeah.
And you'd like to have a full starting staff, I guess, at AAA, but at some point you're kind of stunting your own team's growth if you just keep these guys in AAA.
Yeah.
And you've just got tons and tons of arms. It seems to me like they need to figure out some way to possibly move at least, a guy or two this
sure.
winter.
Do they still have Angel De Los Santos?
Angel De Los Santos? I hope not. I didn't understand why they picked him up in the first place.
Yeah. Eating innings? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only thing I can figure is that they're just like, we're not quite sure yet. Or maybe it was the Bannister's like, oh, I can do something with that. Pick him up.
Right. That's what I assume that's what I assume their like waiver claims have been. Like the Jacob Amaya thing is like, oh, we've always kind of liked him, claim him because we're first on the wire,
and we're terrible. So
yeah, he used to be good for the Dodgers and high A.
Yep, they love those Dodger guys. So we're butting up against an hour here.
Yeah.
You got anything crazy that you want to bring up this week?
No, not really. I think we did. I think Chris Getz talked and people were mad, and we kind of covered that. And Brittany Ghiroli saved us and got us like 10 minutes tonight. With that take. I mean, why do they have to be anybody? Why can't they just do? And I'm not like anti spend. That would be freaking awesome. They're just not going to. So what are we doing? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and like you said, I don't understand why would we follow you can't follow the Royals because we don't have a Bobby Witt Jr.
Yeah.
So who are you going to follow at this point? The whole thing's kind of unprecedented at this point, right? Because
unless you're going to do like Texas, right? But in that case too, there's not free agents to sign. If it were a year where there's two big monster free agents and you're going to sign both of them, great. That sounds like an awesome plan. They're not going to do that, but
no,
that's Texas tried to buy a World Series and they did, right? And they might pay for it a little bit, but who cares? Because flags fly forever. But that is not what the Royals did. It's just not.
No, it's not even close. And to even, that the whole argument, I thought it was stupid the second I heard it. And the more I talk about it, the more I just want to, I want to subtweet, but I don't want to deal with
the wrath. Yeah. You already have Angels fans mad at you. No, I mean, I just think it's funny that I didn't tell you what I meant. All I did was send you the tweet and said hey, we need to rack this for tonight. And you were like, Bobby Witt Jr. It's exactly what I thought about. But you knew right away. You were like, and how do you get Bobby Witt again? How does he factor into this? It was just oh my goodness. But and people go on these shows and they say these things and the hosts are like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. It's no, it's not. It's just not.
I don't understand if you have one of these shows and you have these things, these people on, why would you not say something back Bobby Witt Jr.'s there? Where are they going to get a Bobby Witt Jr.? Even just the smallest of smallest dose of common sense there, just a little bit.
Yeah, because the other stuff, the White Sox can replicate the other stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They can find 2 and 3 WAR position players and go out and sign a couple of mid-tier free agents when it's time. That. You don't think the White Sox could sign Seth Lugo and Michael Wacha? Jerry Reinsdorf wouldn't even have to okay those deals. No problem, right? But if you do that stuff without the superstar, what does it do for you? It doesn't do anything. You need the superstar. Where do you get him from?
I mean, the best you can hope for in that 9 WAR area-ish is Luis Robert to finally realize his potential and not get hurt. That's
Right.
literally the only
Yeah,
hope you have.
because even then he misses 25 games and it's 6 WAR instead.
Yep.
Yeah. You know.
Agreed, Trey. 100% I agree. And that it is generous to say they're even a 500 team without him.
It literally changes everything about that franchise.
It just changes everything. No big deal. Otherwise, Britt Ghiroli, I totally agree with you.
What I think the White Sox should do, they should draft a guy as good as Aaron Judge.
I mean,
it's the same. It's the same thing. Like
like
draft a superstar.
Where's Shohei Ohtani? We'll just sign Shohei Ohtani.
I know.
We'll just get a Shohei Ohtani. He'll come this year. We'll just sign him, and everything will change, and everything will be great. Like these people just grow on trees. All right, FutureSox.net. You can find all of our written content, including the top 30, including the trending on the farm, which Sleepy Harold just put out this afternoon. At FutureSox on Twitter. My name is Ian Eskridge at Daily White Sox. He is James Fox at JamesFox917. If you are listening to this in podcast form, you can find this anywhere that you are looking for your podcast. If you are listening to it in podcast form, know that we do this on YouTube every Monday night at 8 p.m. You can also find all sorts of highlight videos. Stop it, Alec. Just stop it. You can find all of the highlight videos on YouTube of the starting pitchers and of the home runs from every night that it happens. We appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for coming and hanging out. Thanks for coming and watching. Thanks for commenting, hanging out in the chat. You guys are great. Thank you so much. You guys have a great week, and we will catch up with you guys next Monday. Thank you so much.